Hey DCC, welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee. And I'm going to keep on going with my music theme this week, and I'm going to go back and use an Eric Church song. So if you don't like Eric Church, I'm sorry. You can tell me sometime in the garage how much you hate him. But he has a song, Mr. Misunderstood, and I'll come back to it. But I want to talk about being misunderstood. And so let me tell you just a little bit about me. And this is something that is, I just started to really share with people. So I grew up in kind of an era in the 70s and 80s where there wasn't a whole lot that people knew about autism. I mean, they had started to see people, but it was more the severe cases. And so if you were mildly autistic like me, they kind of, just thought you were a bad kid, or you were just had some behavioral issues or things like that. And so I struggled, especially in elementary school, junior high, and stuff like that. But my mom was like a hero of that story. She spent hours and hours with me trying to coach me and help me to act normal, right? Because the biggest thing is that in those days, if you didn't act normal and you had some type of behavioral problems, or they felt like it was something, you could get, shipped off to a special school and not mainstreamed with other students. And so, there was a big emphasis in my life of you've got to act normal, you've got to be, act like everybody else. And so that meant that every night we'd kind of go through moments where I had trouble, and then we would create a process for how we would fix that. And so in high school and junior high, I'd go to the restroom or something, and I'd kind of calm down if I felt like there was too much sensory overload, or I felt like things were just too much pressure, too many things bombarding me. And so I'd get stressed out, and as a result, I'd have to take breaks, right? So I would do that. Now, to everyone else, it looked like I went to the restroom, I'd kind of get settled, come back, and I was fine. But the big emphasis on, trying to keep that from people. And so there was a huge, for me, scared to death to share that with anybody. And in addition to that, as I went through my life, I went into college, and then I met my wife and I married her. I didn't tell her. I have 5 daughters, and I didn't tell them. And yet there were parts of our time together where all of a sudden that became kind of a big deal. I couldn't always build in a routine. My mom passed away; she had cancer, and so then I didn't have anybody there to tell me, okay, hey, what do I do when this happens? What do I do when I'm trapped in a car or a minivan with 5 daughters, and they're all kind of screaming at each other because somebody is wearing somebody else's outfit or skinny jeans or something like that. And it's just crazy sauce, right? And so I didn't deal with those moments well. Like I could, I remember pounding my fist against the door and like screaming at the top of my lungs, just shut up, and stuff like that, because I didn't have a plan or a process. And so to a great extent, again, I was misunderstood. People didn't get that. People didn't understand that. And there's a part of that also goes to intensity and passion. For me, I'm a very intense and passionate person. And part of that's autism. Part of that's being very myopic and focused. And I have this thing that runs in my brain where I need to finish something before I pick something else up. And so I don't like things that are unfinished, and it kind of like fingernails on the chalkboard for me. So there's a lot of ways in which my life has been spent kind of being misunderstood, right? If you saw me at a staff retreat that wasn't too long ago, and I was up there and everybody was there, and we had 40 staff, and we're doing that, and everybody's kind of, they're all mixing together, and they're all kind of having a good time at night. Everybody's talking. I had too much overload. So here's Pete sitting off in the corner, sitting at a table by himself, completely silent, right? And to everyone else, it looks like, hey, that guy must be moping around, some depressed, or he's just, whatever. But really, all I'm trying to do is kind of grab my wits and calm down and kind of refresh, because I've just been around too many people for too long, okay? So I'm misunderstood. And I'm sure that there are areas in your life where you find yourself misunderstood. That in a moment, a lot of people make quick, snappy judgments about people, and they don't always understand all the extenuating circumstances. They don't know all the details, right? When you walk into work, you might be a little bit short, or you might be, just wanting to get to work and not really talk with anyone because of something that happened in the morning, or maybe it's just a week or a bad month, or finances aren't really working out. And so you're just stressed and you're a ball of stress, and people start to read you wrong, right? And they can misunderstand you and think, oh, that person's always depressed, or they're always angry, or they're snappy, or whatever, right? Fill in the blank. There's two things that we need to do about being misunderstood. I think one of them I realized when I met Greg Lindsay here, and Greg kind of introduced me to the idea of Wild at Heart, discovering your story, taking risk, and he was so brave with Stacy to tell his story. It made me feel okay for one of the first times in my life to tell my story, to talk about autism, to let people in, even though I had ingrained in my head, don't do that, Peter, because people won't understand and they'll judge you and they won't think that you're capable of doing things. It was a big deal for me. So at the staff retreat, when we were sitting around in a circle, it was the very first time I shared with people in a very significant way that I'm mildly autistic. And so I want to encourage you, communicate with people. If you're having a bad week or having a hard time, just do your due diligence to make sure that people understand and have some type of context so that they know they're not misunderstanding you. But there's another side to this, right? And that's all of us can be more understanding towards one another, right? We don't know what's going on in somebody's life, especially, as we're here at DCC, we have people coming from all over the community. We don't know their backgrounds. We don't know what's going through. We've got soldiers with PTSD. We've got military spouses whose husbands or wives are deployed and they're home with the kids and all the stress that goes with that. We've got people who have addictions and trying to overcome them. We've got people with stories. They've got depression. They've got things. And so as we start to see people, if we can be people who are filled with grace, that are filled with understanding, that we're just not going to, make snap, rash decisions and judgments on people, but that we're going to look at people and truly just love them. I think Paul says, you owe no man anything except for love. And Jesus makes it the most important commandments. All the law and the prophets are summed up in love God with everything you have and love others as you do yourself. And so those are the things that I want you to focus on this day and this week is be sure that you are you're giving voice to where you're at so you're not misunderstood, but also give lots of grace and understanding to people because you just don't know what they're going through this week. You don't know what somebody said, their husband, their wife, their kids. You don't know their financial condition. You don't know their addiction. You don't know things, right? And what you don't know could be impacting this snap little thing that you saw them do, this little snapshot of their behavior. All right? So have a good day. Look at others. Don't judge them. Love them. Okay? Have a great day.